Hi, I'm Angel with All Free Sewing and FleeceFun.com. Today I'm going to show you how to make this adorable baby car seat cover. Now, it used to be that you would just throw a blanket over your baby to protect them from the rain or the sun or the wind, but now you can make these adorable covers, and they're great because they don't block the handle, so you can hold on to the car seat really well, and it keeps the baby really warm and snug. Now this pattern can be made with different fabrics. It doesn't just have to be fleece. Now this example, it's fleece on the exterior and flannel on the interior, and this would be great for a winter or late fall cover for your baby. But you can also make it out of a cotton, which is great for summer and spring. It's great for keeping shade on your baby and making it dark so they can take a nice long nap while you're out shopping. So I'm going to show you how to make this adorable cover today. You're going to need the following things. You'll need a printed out version of the free PDF pattern that's available on fleecefun.com. Just go to fleecefun.com, find the baby car seat canopy, and download the free PDF pattern. You'll need 1 1/3 yards of fleece or cotton or flannel, depending on what you want to make out of the blanket. You'll need another 1 1/3 for the lining of the fabric. So 1 1/3 for the exterior and 1 1/3 for the interior. You'll need 6 to 8 inches of sew-on Velcro, 7 to 9 yards of cording, or 3 packages of rights, and the cording is optional. You'll need a washable cloth marking pen or pencil, extra buttons and ribbons for decorating it. All right, once you have all those things, it's time to start sewing. You'll need to assemble and cut out the free PDF pattern that's available on fleecefun.com. Once you've cut out and assembled that pattern, you're going to lay it on your top fabric, your exterior fabric, and you're going to place it on the fold and you're going to cut out 1. Be sure to mark the top with a pen or with a pin so you know what side is the top of the pattern, because the pattern is not perfectly symmetrical. Set that aside, cut out 1 more of that pattern piece for the liner fabric. Again, marking the top with a pen or a pin so you know what the top of the pattern piece is. Once you've cut that out, cut out 4 of the straps. Just cut out, place it on folded fabric, cut out 1, place it on folded fabric, cut out another one of that pattern piece, so you will have 4 pieces total of the strap pieces. Once you have all of that cut out, it's time to start sewing. Now, if you're adding on cording, I like to sew the cording on first. I don't like to sandwich in between because it doesn't look as neat when I sew it that way. So what I like to do is I like to pin my cording all the way around, and you're going to have the cord on the interior of the fabric. So the flimsy edge of the cording, you're going to just have that line all the way around, and the cord part is going to be on the inside of the fabric. Pin it on, and then using a zipper foot with the needle moved over so it's butted right up against the cording, sew all the way around, sew your cording on. Once you've done that, you're going to take your liner fabric and with right sides together, pin it together, and remember how I had you mark the top? You're going to make sure that the top pieces are together. You're going to pin that all the way around. You're also going to make sure to mark, when you sew, you're going to leave a good 4 to 5 inch gap for turning. And I like to do that on one of the interior parts where it dips in. You can see on the example what I'm talking about. That's where I usually like to leave my gap for turning. All right, so if you've used cording, you're going to just, again, butt your zipper foot up against the cording that you can feel through the fabric and sew all the way around your cover again. If you're not using cording, just use a 1/2 inch seam allowance and sew all the way around your car seat cover. Once you've done that, turn your car seat cover right side out. And be sure just to poke it out, make sure it's flat and it looks really good. Then you can hand stitch it shut if you really want to, but I just like to take the machine and just sew over it and be done with it. Once you've sewn your turning gap closed, it's time to do 1 more step. And I am sorry if you've added the cording, you're like, I've sewn around this cover twice already. You need to do it 1 more time. Trust me, it will just look so nice and so good, especially with the cording, if you top stitch around the cover 1 more time. So using your zipper foot, if you've used cording, just butt it up against. Again, the needle's moved over, so you have kind of it's probably about a 1/2 inch gap between the edge and your top stitching, and just sew all the way around. Trust me, it'll look great. If you didn't add cording, I also recommend top stitching all the way around. You can do that with a 1/2 inch seam allowance or with a 1/4 inch, whatever your creativity feels like doing that day. So top stitch all the way around the cover. Okay, you're done. You won't have to sew all the way around the cover again. Now it's time to start on the straps. If you're adding cording to the straps, you're going to do the same thing we did with the car seat cover. Just pin it on, sew around it with a zipper foot. Then you're going to take both sides of your strap, the exterior and the interior, right sides together, sew all the way around. Leave about an inch and a half gap at one end. I prefer to use the flat end for turning. So sew all the way around, sew them together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, or use your cording as your seam allowance if you're using cording. Then turn it right side out. Once you've done that, again, same thing with the car seat cover. You're going to stitch, close that gap. Then you're going to top stitch all the way around using the same seam allowances as you did on the car seat cover. Okay, now you've got this strap, and now we need to make it functional. So we're going to refer to the pattern, and you can see the placement for the Velcro and where you're going to sew it onto the car seat cover. I'm going to have you add the Velcro. Now, if you're going to add a button on to your car seat cover, I recommend having the hook on the interior lining part. And you can see the placement on my example there. So put the hook there, so when you add a button, you won't have the hook grabbing at the thread that you're going to use to sew the button on. So you're going to place that on the interior. Now on the exterior fabric, you're going to place the loop, and you can see the placement on the pattern. That needs to be on the exterior, so when you fold it together, it folds over on itself and it makes a nice little loop cuff. Now the other additional thing you can do is you can add a button at this time. You can just sew it on. You can also make pretty flower pins and that sort of thing and add those on later just using a pin back. Just pin it on. Once you've done that, you're going to draw on with your marking pen that pattern, that box with an X through it, and that just makes it really sturdy and it really holds onto the fabric well. Now, there are so many baby car seats out there, so many different designs and styles and sizes. So I highly, highly recommend that you find the car seat that you're making this for and try it on it. This is the only way to get the strap placement perfect. So what I recommend doing is taking it to the actual car seat, pinning it to the car seat where you think it needs to go, and marking it. Once you've had that marked and you have your car seat marked, you're going to sew it onto your car seat using that box with an X pattern. So sew it on through all your layers of fabric. Be very sure that all the fabric is flat. You don't want anything bubbled up underneath your needle. Once you've done that, you're almost there. One last step. This car seat cover is unique in its design as it actually makes an envelope around the car seat. The fabric just doesn't hang down, but it actually goes around the handle and crosses over. To finally secure it, again, you're going to have to go back to that car seat that you're making this for, and you're going to have the sides go over so it covers the car seat completely. And then you're going to take a marking pen and you're going to mark that spot where they meet, and it looks good and it's enveloping perfectly. Then you're going to go back and then taking about an inch and a half of sew on Velcro, sew it on each side that you've marked, and you're there. The other option you can do that some other people have done is you can put a buttonhole on the exterior side and a button on the interior side, and that looks really cute as well. And you're done. You have an adorable functional car seat cover that will work for not just one, but many babies. For more great patterns, you can visit allfreesewing.com. You can also visit my website, fleecefun.com. There's a great baby bib pattern that's available there, as well as a basic fleece pants pattern in sizes 3 months through 5T. Have a great day, and remember, velvet is pretentious, fleece is fun.